Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By. I'm not doing that one again. Fuck it. As usual, this is Ames. I am joined by
Caitlin,
Jake,
and Chris.
We are on episode 40.
Woo! Oh shit!
Guys, we are like one away from the end of TOS.
woo!
I'm actually feeling sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss these guys.
You know, if you'd asked me, say, last week or a few weeks ago, I'd probably say yes, but considering one of the episodes we had today, I don't know if I'm going to miss TOS that much.
I don't know. I liked one of the ones today.
One of them was good, yeah.
The ones today that we are discussing the Savage Curtain. There it was. And all our yesterdays, which I thought was pretty okay.
It was alright.
I liked it.
I liked it, yeah.
Let's talk Savage Curtain quickly. Great. So we are hanging around the planet Excalibur, which is a volcanic planet where a geological survey is being conducted. They look at it, they say, it's all fucking lava, let's leave. And they try to until Abraham Lincoln shows up on the view screen, hovering in space. That's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
He says, hey guys, where are Bill and Ted? I miss those guys. They're like, who are you talking about? I'm like, oh no, Kirk, that's who I meant. Hi. I'm actual Abe Lincoln. I'm human. I'm, it's really me.
Can
let
you
me
tell
on.
by the mole?
Yeah, let me on your ship. I'm only a couple feet shorter than the actual Abe Lincoln. You're not going to even notice.
A couple feet.
Yes, it was a little person, Abe Lincoln, that showed up.
I mean, compared to the real one.
So the Enterprise plays along. They all get in their dress uniforms to welcome President Lincoln, our 13th president? I think it's 13th.
Sounds right.
16th.
Close enough.
Yeah, one of them. Oh wait, 13th was a different one.
3 before Lincoln?
Yes.
Andrew Jackson was number 7, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right? No, 20? No, he's on a
8?
$20 bill. Fuck, I don't know.
I used to know some of them, and now I know none of them.
George Washington, first president.
I know that one.
Yes!
Boom. They let him on. They're chatting with him. They're talking about how he's really Abe Lincoln.
Millard Fillmore.
That's the one. Thank you, Jake. McCoy and Spock are getting testy because they're like, Kirk, why, or at least McCoy and Scotty. McCoy and Scotty are getting testy. Spock's never testy.
No, well.
Except when he is. Why are you treating Abe Lincoln like he's Abe Lincoln? He can't possibly be Abe Lincoln, even though every time we scan him, he looks humanoid. On the planet, there's nothing but rocks and a weird thing that happened on the sensors. That was probably nothing. Lincoln says, hey guys, let's go down to the planet. They're like, but it's fucking volcanoes and shit. He says, oh no, there's a patch right there. And on the screen, there just appears a big, lush green patch with Earth-like conditions that they could live on. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. Where did that come from? I guess we'll go down with you.
Is it even real? I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it's fine. But if it's not, we're dead. But I'm sure it's cool. Spock and Kirk head down there with Abe, of course, their new biffle, and they meet Surak, who was the father of the Vulcan civilization. Also shouldn't technically exist right now, but there he is. He was a hottie, though.
He's cute. He had really beautiful eyes.
Beautiful eyes.
And those neck muscles. Whoever was in
those
that
are
was
almost
kind of built.
Cardassian neck muscles.
Yeah, it's true.
And those have to get applied prosthetically.
No, that's true. I think actually Ston might have been descended from Surak. For all the shit we give them, they're built kind of, they're both built like brick shithouses.
Sweet. Brick shithouses.
You never heard that expression?
Yeah, I have.
I haven't.
Of course I have.
I haven't, and it's amazing.
Thank you. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so out of nowhere, a rock-like being forms itself out of a rock.
It was like a golem.
It was like the shit demon from Dogma.
Dog shit demon?
Yeah.
Wow, Chris is broken.
Chris, you okay?
Look at how fucking regular his giggles are. It's like it's a metronome.
It's like a metronome.
Oh, God.
So, rock creature, the internet tells me his name is Yarnek. I don't think we learned his name in the episode, but the internet tells me his name is Yarnek. He was cool. I liked him. He's trying to learn more about philosophies of other civilizations. So, he's got Surak and Abe here representing the good guys. And he's collected a whole bunch of other weird personalities to represent the bad guys. We see and meet Colonel Green, who was an Earth warlord who led a genocidal war during the 21st century on Earth.
I don't remember that.
Because we know him as General Flynn.
We meet Kahless, who was the founder of the Klingon Empire. We meet Zora, a woman who had 0 lines in the episode. Apparently she conducted experiments on primitive tribes of her planet Tiburon.
Fuck.
So the Ronnie?
And also Genghis Khan is here, and they're all here so that they can fight to the death to prove if evil or good is better.
That
or
makes sense.
Something.
Yeah, I'm in.
The Yarnak doesn't seem to know what the fuck he's talking about.
He does not.
No, he made this up as he went along.
Very much
Is
so.
the dark side stronger?
You should not be asking that. Or ask that you must not. However the fuck it goes. Go on, Lames.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to something else.
Being a whiny shit.
He
Leads
leads
to-
to
Quoting the fucking
4chan.
horrible prequels. It leads to 4chan. That was
There we
good,
go.
Jake. That was
Close.
good.
So, Yarnak says, fight! And Kirk and Green look at each other like, do we want to fight? I don't think we should fight. Green's like, no, we absolutely shouldn't fight. And Kirk says, wait a minute. In peace talks, you liked to sabotage the other side, so you're probably going to sabotage us, aren't you? And he's like, lol, yup. And they fight. And there's fighting for a while, and nothing happens. And they all drift apart again and get into their separate little camps. Surak, of course, being the Vulcan peacekeeper, effectively, says, well, during all of our Vulcan peacekeeping times, we sent off emissaries to go make the peace with the other side without getting killed. I'm going to try to do that. And everyone says, you'll get killed. He says, no, I'll be fine. And then he goes over there and gets killed.
He did say the first couple rounds of emissaries did get
Yeah, it's
killed.
kind of like Monty Python. There's a
We just
kid
kept
building
trying.
a castle. Basically, the other side just got sick of killing people. They're like, oh my, fine, we will hear them out. Fuck me.
Yeah, so he gets killed over there. We hear screaming for a while. Lincoln goes to go check it out, but it turns out that Kahless can impersonate people's voices, I guess.
He used to be a ventriloquist.
But he moves his mouth.
The idea of a Klingon with like a little ventriloquist dummy Klingon, complete with like little suit and funny hat.
Funny hat.
Well, because it'd have to be perched back because of the ridges, so it'd be extra ridiculous.
Jesus
I
Christ.
think that's something that Alexander would take up.
Right? Sorry, go on.
I
So
know,
as-
dummy. You're the dummy.
So as Abe went over to see if Surak was savable and Surak was actually dead, he gets speared in the back, dies.
Fuck.
Spock and Kirk somehow just attack everybody. They kill Green and the others run away. The Yarnak realizes, well, evil ran away, therefore they must have been not as good. But look, good killed, so good is really the same as evil. Am I right? And they all say, no, you weren't right, because during this whole time you were threatening to blow up the Enterprise if we didn't do anything. Side note, everyone on the Enterprise was just watching because they were bored as fuck.
The ship was broken again.
Ship was broken. They had nothing to do but watch from the view screen because it was Arena all over again.
They were like, oh,
But
he
she-
should try making some explosives. There's saltpeter right there.
They tell Yarnak, we're gonna get the fuck out of here. Yarnak says, all right, peace out, dudes. Say hi to Bill and Ted for us. Chill. And they leave, and that's it.
Yeah, it was one of the most anticlimactic endings in the series history.
They really gotta blow up that planet, or this is just gonna happen to somebody else.
You just wanted to blow up
And
the
they
planet.
never explain who the fuck Abe Lincoln was.
He was a projection created
Yeah.
by Yarnak.
Might have just been a clone.
Why did he...
You ever seen Clone High?
Yeah, but why did he... Yes, that's true. Why did he register as a humanoid whenever they tricorder ridered?
Because he was a
Space
clone.
magic.
Because the
Well, we'll talk about that when we talk
Yeah,
about the
we'll
episode.
talk
but
about
that.
let's get to
That
all
was
our
great.
yesterdays.
All our yesterdays I really liked.
Same.
We go to Sarpedon, which is a planet whose star is about to go supernova. Like all of them. Like they do.
The Enterprise crew has been sent to get all up in its business to take some readings.
Again.
No, they go there. I think they go there just to see to make sure the planet is evacuated.
Oh, yeah.
They go down. Spock, McCoy, and Kirk go down there, and they go to a library where there doesn't seem to be anybody around. They're like, "Oh, interesting. I wonder where everybody went." They're scoping around, and then Mr. Atoz shows up. He's the librarian. His name is literally A to Z because that's hilarious.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh,
I was
didn't
just
pick
thinking
up
that. I
on
was like,
that.
ATOS must be
they're
something,
super
right?
clever. And he has some random spares of himself lingering about. I'm not sure why, but they were there.
I think they were robots that he built to, or either clones or robots or something he created to help expedite his work.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah, he was evacuating the entire...
Yeah, if he's evacuating the whole planet, then it would make sense. So he sees the trio and says, "Oh no, you guys are super late. We have to get you out of here. Quick, pick a place you want to go, and I'll send you there, because that's how we're evacuating the planet." Kirk and Spock realize, okay, we'll look at your stuff, whatever, without ever explaining who they actually were. That, they don't need saving, but whatever.
He didn't even I don't feel like he really even explained.
Well, he assumed they were locals.
Yeah.
So he was just like,
know.
browse through the library. Like, I thought it was really well done how they didn't really explain anything of what was going on.
Yeah, it's a nice way of letting the audience figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
I liked that. That was super cool. Kirk is looking at this little disc. The discs were also super cool, like little random CD-ROM precursors. I liked them. Is looking at one of 16th century era some back alley that he'd be totally into. And McCoy and Spock are looking over a Ice Age history disc when Kirk hears a scream coming through this gateway. This appropriately unlabeled gateway. And he runs through it, and Atos says, No, don't run through, what's the name of the device? The Atavacron? Don't run through it, you haven't been prepared yet. But Kirk runs through it because, lady, she might have tits. Spock and McCoy say, "Kirk, where are you going?" And they run through as well. Kirk appears in 16th century wherever the fuck, in the middle of a brawl between all these random musketeers and a lady. And
Dr. Crusher.
She looked a lot like Dr. Crusher.
She's a lot like Dr. Crusher.
Well, she looked like Dr. Crusher if she were an old hag.
Dr. Crusher, a little more crushed.
Fair enough. Spock and McCoy appear in that Ice Age world where they were viewing 2 seconds ago, and they can't get to each other, but they can kind of hear each other talking. So after Kirk saves the lady, because Kirk can't not save a lady, all the locals hear him talking to voices, say he's probably a witch, and have him and the lady locked up. Meanwhile, Spock and the other one, McCoy.
Joe.
There's only 3 of them in this episode, and I can't keep names straight. They're wandering around in this Arctic wasteland until McCoy can go on no further, when luckily they're saved by a hooded figure who turns out to be
A pretty lady.
a super hot lady in a nice coat. Mm-hmm. She saves everybody, brings them back to her lovely, well-heated lair in a cave somewhere.
Built over hot spring and everything.
Yeah, hot spring. She got lots of mammoth coats. Mammoth meats to snack
Mammoth
on.
kebabs.
A nice rock bed for McCoy to lounge upon.
Hey, good for his back.
Yeah, crack that one spot. Spock immediately hits it off with her. I'm certain they banged.
They fucked.
Oh,
I'm
they banged,
certain
yeah.
they banged.
For sure.
And they were in a cave, which means it reverberated, so McCoy
Oh.
heard everything.
Yeah, it turns out that the lady, her name is Zarabeth, she also is from this future and went back in time. I didn't say this. What happened yet? So it turns out everybody in Sarpedon, to escape the supernova, they went back in time to live out the rest of their lives sometime in the past, instead of getting supernova to death. And they all picked what era, and Zarabeth was a criminal of some kind, and she was forced into the Ice Age. And she tells Spock and McCoy there's no way to get back, because going through the dealing machine, if you were programmed, I'm going to start this over. Going back through the dealing machine, you're programming... Someone else explain this part.
It changes your DNA. It changes your molecules so that you're attuned to that time period.
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed to actually do something before you go through it. That ends up being the loophole.
Yeah, she doesn't tell him that, though. She's just like, nope, you can't go back.
I feel like she wouldn't know. She wouldn't know whether they were prepared or not.
Yeah,
She also wanted them to stay.
No, that's the whole thing.
True.
She didn't know. She was just...
But even the guy, with Kirk, until Kirk said I wasn't prepared, he was like, oh shit, you can go back. Never mind, get the fuck out of here. Right. And actually, in fact, having been not prepared, staying in the past would eventually kill them, possibly?
Yeah, he says if you haven't been prepared, you can only stay for a few hours.
Yeah.
Which seems weird.
Well, it makes sense. We'll get to that.
Yeah. So Kirk, in prison, talks to his prosecutor or his attorney, or I don't quite know who it was. Somebody comes down who turns out is also from the future.
Putnam.
Yeah, really.
And Kirk is talking about the library, and he came back from the future, and the attorney person is like, Ixnay on the Ucherfay. So the librarian doesn't want to library or the
Prosecutor guy.
The prosecutor's got a fucking good deal going on. Doesn't want to risk any of that with Kirk being a stupid fuck and just blurting out whatever.
Stupid fuck.
But Kirk ends up trying to do a weird escape attempt, ends up getting the prosecutor to tell him how to get back, gets back to the library where Ataz tries to just throw him back in again. You're not supposed to be here! Get back in! Until Kirk finally explains to him what's going on. We have to save Spock and McCoy, or they'll be trapped there when those star supernovas and I can't get them. Librarian decides to help and find wherever they went. McCoy in Ice Age Land is having none of not getting a lady, while Spock gets all of the lady. So he decides, I'm just getting the fuck out of here. She's been lying to you, because I can tell, because McCoy.
Because you're a full
idiot. Maybe I got my heartbeat monitor and I can tell.
He always has that with him. And he says, "This is pun far enough!"
I'm not using that as the title.
Use it as the title.
It doesn't apply to both episodes.
Hey, this is a goddamn democracy.
Is it?
I don't think it is. I think it's Chris's decision.
Yeah.
I mean, insofar that I do the edit.
Yeah, you leave a lot of shit in.
Yeah.
You'll probably leave this in, because...
We'll see how long it goes.
Oh, Lord. McCoy leaves. Spock and Zarabeth follow him to the area where they came through originally. Kirk yells to them to come back through. Spock and Zarabeth have a tearful goodbye, and then she leaves, and they jump back through, and everything's okay. Ataz goes through the portal to go to his family, and he's probably okay, unless his family decided somewhere terrible to live, in which case, sorry, guy. End of episode, mostly.
Alright, so the,
Lincoln.
Let me get into my this episode was terrible pose.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh my god. Okay.
You guys should have done what I did.
What positives?
There was a space.
No, my positive was Yarnek was a fucking cool critter.
That was cool.
He was a big rock puppet looking thing.
Yep.
He was worn, I guess, because he was big enough, by the same guy, Janos Prohaska, who did the Horta.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
So he got
looked
to
like the Horta.
It
It could be the Horta's daddy.
And I will say, when he spoke, the lights in his head flashed
I liked those.
very much in conjunction, which it took Doctor Who until, like, the 80s to nail having the Dalek lights flash properly in time with speech.
Well, and wasn't it just something that the operator inside would do?
I think, maybe.
Well, he wasn't the one doing the voice. A different person did the voice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, they got the voice and light sync much better.
Well, and I actually really thought that the movements of it were very nice and robotic feeling. Like, I was
He
like,
looked
holy
like he was
shit,
made of
that's...
rock.
Well, and I was also just kind of like, wow, the animatronics here are fantastic. And you were like, that's not animatronic. I think there's somebody in there. And I was like, holy shit, I'm even more impressed now.
Yeah, his design was good, his use was good. It's a shame he was in such a fucking pile of an episode.
The voice modulation was good too, because they had that double voice with like weird echo effect situation going on.
Yeah, I think we can all agree Mushroom Rock Monster was great.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yarnek was
Rest
the
of this
best
episode
part.
was cold piss.
Alright!
Oh, here.
Everyone, I have to
We knew
launch.
this was coming.
Alright, hold on. Let me get out my Canon pen here, and we're going to write myself a little letter. Dear Mr. Rottenberry.
Whoa.
That'll skewer him good.
Fighting words.
Yeah. Dear Mr. Rottenberry, I would like to lodge a complaint in the episode entitled... What's this one called?
The Savage Curtain.
The Savage Shithole!
You tell him.
You've introduced us to the character known as K-Less.
The...
Whatever!
What the hell is his title?
K-Less the fuckface.
The unforgettable.
The unforgettable. Who will later learn in Star Trek The Next Generation that K-Less was the founder of the Klingon people, more or less.
Yeah.
Invented the whole thing. A sword forged out of hair or some nonsense.
They're Surrock.
Yes. However, we know from The Next Generation and when K-Less is resurrected, spoiler alert, folks, that he is not an augment Klingon. He is, in fact, a ridged-headed Klingon. So how come in the episode The Savage Curtain is Kahless depicted as an augment Klingon? Explain that, Mr. Brannon Braga and Rick Berman and Michael Pillar and anyone else involved in that abomination of a storyline?
If I may present what I believe Mr. Roddenberry's argument would be.
Fuck you.
First of all, nice tits, ladies. Second,
Thank you.
Ain't wrong.
keep in mind that this monster is
No.
basing...
Do it in a nerd voice.
No, I'm not as good at it. I don't want to follow that. Keep in mind that this monster is creating these images based mostly on what it's getting from the crew as opposed to from their databanks, right? So even if it logically knows that it should have lumps, he knows that what Kirk and Spock think of as Klingons are smooth-headed. So he made it to fit their expectations just as he made Lincoln to fit Kirk's expectations and Surak to fit Spock's.
I like this explanation.
I withdraw my complaint.
Is that why Surak was so hot?
Yes.
And why he looked so much like Sarek, frankly, I felt.
I think it looked more like Ston.
I know you did.
I accept your explanation, Chris.
Thank you.
I'll buy that.
I only thought of it while you were ranting, which is why I didn't offer it off air earlier.
However,
You don't think Roddenberry was that clever?
Well, Roddenberry didn't know they were
Yeah.
going to retcon the...
Well, I also
The
don't-
retcon is the problem.
I also
The
just
ridge
don't
list
know
isn't the
that it
problem.
applies because the other characters that, like that lady.
Zora,
the Wicked
the
Witch of
witch?
the West there.
Yeah. Like, was she somebody that they knew about that was like...
I'm sure she was
They
in their history
seemed to,
books.
Yeah.
They just didn't know what her voice sounded like, which is why she didn't have any lines.
To me, though, honestly, yes, that does make it fit. So I will yield the point.
Thank you.
However, I will say that it further points out both the stupidity of needing the retcon in the first place,
Yeah.
and the fact that so many fucking numbnuts are upset that the Klingons are going to look different in Discovery all of a sudden. Shut up, people! Shut up! The Klingons look different every time we see them. That's the rule.
That's because television looks different every couple of
No
years.
shit.
Yeah.
So listen, if you're somebody, listeners, if you're somebody out there who saw the Star Trek Discovery trailer, which will have released a couple months ago by your time,
It's still quite recent for us.
yes, and were upset that, those Klingons, what are they doing to the Klingons? Those aren't the Klingons that I know. Boop, 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 boop. If that's your attitude towards that, then fuck you,
a new
okay?
voice.
Because the
I like
Klingons look different every time we see them. You have the first original series Klingons, who were just bronzered up. Then you have later original series Klingons, which legit blackface,
Yeah,
let's be
pretty much,
real.
yeah.
Then you have, the movie / TNG Klingons.
Well, actually, there's the motion picture Klingons,
Well, yes.
which are different from the ones that'll show up in 3 on.
This is true, they're slightly different. But you also have the Undiscovered Country Klingons,
Yep.
which are further different, I feel.
Yep.
You have, basically what you think of as your standard Klingon through most of TNG, DS9, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Star Trek 2009 Klingons, the Into Darkness Klingons.
Yep.
Different again, lots of jewelry.
Yep.
So,
And helmets to kind of avoid the ridge question.
yep.
Actually, there was a deleted scene from the 2009 one that would have featured the Klingons, and again, helmets to avoid the question, so...
That's
So,
funny.
The point here being, Klingons are going to look different.
Klingons gotta cling.
In fact,
Yeah.
all the aliens are going to look different. The first time we saw the Cardassians, they had some weird helmet, weird facial cage thing.
Interesting.
It sounds sexy.
And, so chill, basically. Anyway, back to the show.
Back to the show.
Do we have to? Go
Yeah.
back to
I mean,
Savage-
that admittedly was
Savage
more
Curtain?
interesting than anything in the Savage
Oh, I
Curtain.
have some other interesting stuff. The original script was supposed to also feature Socrates,
Ooh.
Hitler, and Attila the Hun, among other characters.
My God, Spock wouldn't have been able to deal with the
Hitler
joy
would have been
of
on the
meeting
good
Hitler.
team, and Kirk would have been like, "What the fuck? Why is Hitler on the good team?" Like, well,
Obviously,
Spock
Captain,
wanted
he's
him.
very efficient.
I actually really like the inclusion of Colonel Green because it's somebody from our future but their past.
Yeah.
Because they fucking love to seed from, the past and go to, like, Lincoln or go to Hitler or go to, anyone that we'd be aware of. And to, like, make up a new future guy, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
A new, like Khan was. Like, Khan was a historic figure to them, but not to us.
Yeah. I just found it slightly distracting that Colonel Green's outfit looked like Mork's minus the big triangle.
I also thought it was interesting how the rock lobster gave the long explanation. Like, he assumed they knew who Genghis Khan was.
Yep.
So he didn't provide an explanation for Genghis Khan, but then he did provide a description of each of the others.
Yeah, that's funny.
So you would know who they were.
They should have done all of them.
So the biggest... there's so many issues. But the biggest failing of this episode is that they spend so much time dicking around with fake Lincoln on the Enterprise that the actual point of the episode has to be rushed in like 15 minutes. It's like, guys, this was the point of the episode.
But it was
this
so
should have been
dumb.
Oh yeah, no, it would
Hey,
have been
they
stupid
spent
regardless.
a lot of money to rent that Abe Lincoln costume, okay?
Well, he still could have been in a lot of the
they're
episode.
gonna get their
That
fucking
guy
money's
spent
worth.
4 hours in the makeup chair getting that mole put on.
Yeah.
And getting his lips removed.
That was
Yes.
weird.
Every scene, like, and it was weird because in some scenes he was paler than others. There's one episode where he is so brown.
One scene.
You're like, did they think he was made of copper?
Even his hand looked
Yeah, they look
Well,
at
yeah,
the
the
penny. They look at the
pennies.
penny for reference.
And that's the thing. They did paint him up because you could see a point where his sleeve had fallen a little, and he was paler.
Oh my god.
They had gone through and purposely, I think it was to make him look all sort of backwoodsy and ruddy, but it was, and also the like amount of crease around his eyes fluctuated from scene to scene. His makeup was a fucking disaster.
Yeah. That was weird.
Lincoln.
But yeah, they spent oh my
Listen to him talking about the makeup. I've taught him so well.
Also,
I mean, yeah.
also for fuck's sake, all right, I don't have good versus evil, so I'm gonna get a couple of, like, a philosopher and a politician and put you up against actual warriors. Like, there were surely good guys who knew how to throw a punch.
Yeah, and why as your, we got 4 on one side, 4 on the other side. The other 2 you pick are just random guys from Starfleet.
Who you just assume are good.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
obviously haven't
If they
heard of-
picked Chekhov, what would they have done?
They never read Jake's The Worst Admirals Ever article, clearly.
Yeah, what the fuck, Rock Monster? Why aren't you following our Tumblr? Like you folks at home should be doing.
Apparently they originally wanted Mark Leonard to play Lincoln.
Really?
Yeah, I guess he was
Wait,
busy.
Sarah?
That would have been
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
That would have been his
Especially-
third appearance. And his first one as a character with round ears.
Especially putting him next to Surik, who I honestly really felt already looked a lot like him.
Yeah, that'd be odd. Unless he really changed up the... Well, he would be wearing the hat, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of wouldn't have minded that. That'd been interesting. Weird, but interesting.
Weird string.
I mean,
terrain.
this way, though,
That's
he
a
was
dark.
only in good episodes of the original series.
Yeah, would you really want to spoil his legacy?
No, you're right.
No.
Yeah, considering the whole point of this episode was a battle of good and evil, there was almost no action.
Well,
There was
it was
almost no battling.
Yeah,
whole
the band
problem-
is like throwing sticks at each other.
Poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm amazed that any of
toss
them
it.
were able to throw a spear hard enough to kill Lincoln.
Oh,
No, they like had him stand still and like drove it in inch by inch.
Yeah.
That's they
With a
ran.
hammer.
Well, I'd say the funniest part for me of this episode was when they were preparing, and Spock's over there carving a spear with a rock, and then Kirk walks up with a completely green, freshly picked stick with leaves still on it. He's like, "All right, we're ready to go."
God, I found a tree.
Well, he was starting to carve it.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
so.
you gotta carve these things? Really?
Fuck.
Should I take the leaves off first? You
And the
think?
thing is, the leaves are all then torn away really quickly, because like a
Yeah.
few seconds later, I don't think any real time has passed in the show. Like,
Spock handed him one of the finished ones and said, Captain, you're gonna need
Jesus,
this.
Jim.
Get your act
That's what that
together.
episode needed, really, was it to be Kirk and McCoy. And it could have been like the guy that invented bourbon could have been his counterpart.
Yeah, so Abraham Lincoln is like a big idol of Kirk's. I would never have guessed. I actually would never have guessed that.
It
I
makes-
don't understand why.
Like, no fucking sense. It's just like, this kid from the eventually 23rd century, but based on the math, they say, Lincoln died 300 years ago, so apparently it's the 22nd century right now, but whatever. Idolizes this president from a government that fell long before his birth. Like, yes, He was born in America. But, like, how well known will the Civil War be and Lincoln be to someone born in the post-divided Earth America?
You know, honestly, there will probably still be Southerners who are flying the Confederate flag, so who knows?
Oh my God! Can we talk about when Lincoln met Uhura?
Oh God, I was hoping to avoid that.
we should actually.
No, we really
It was
should
the
talk
only
about
interesting thing that happened in the whole
Also,
fucking
Caitlin was still
episode.
awake, so
I cringed
That's true.
so
I was
hard.
awake for that.
I think we all gasped at the television
Because we knew it was going to happen, and we knew something was about to happen.
Tell them what happened, Caitlin.
So Lincoln was like, what a charming negress. Oh. And all of us went, and Uhura is just fucking smiling like, oh, thanks. And, you know, and
Lincoln's like, oh, that must have been offensive. And she's like,
and she's like,
no.
no, I love it when you use old-timey slang. Words can't hurt me anymore. What the fuck is that?
I can't even answer.
Like, we've learned to accept who and what we are. Like, I don't...
Yeah. It's a little
like,
odd.
I just... Like... Thank you, white men who wrote this show, for letting us all know how...
See, no. In the future, the deal is there's no more racism in the future, so nothing matters anymore.
Negro comes back into fashion. Was it?
Negress.
Oh, yes. Now, I genuinely don't remember. Was that even an accepted term in the 60s, or had it fallen out of favor
I think
by
it was
then?
on the way out. I think it was a little getting a little antiquated because this is post-civil rights at this point. I mean, there's obviously still a lot of problems as there are today.
But the first sort of major modern push, I guess.
But I
happened.
feel like negress definitely is older timey. Like, I feel like negro was the all-encompassing
That's
word
true. He's
at that
specifically
point.
gendering it.
Like,
makes
negress
it
feels
I don't know
really
about
old.
I don't know
60s.
about that specifically.
What else did... Oh, no. I was supposed to say, what did you call it? Queen of Africa? But no, that was that Doctor Who episode with
Shakespeare.
Martha and Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And Ebony, whatever the fuck, and I'm just like,
Well, except that was at least purposely played for, like, Martha was like, whoa, what's he doing? And the doctor's like, yeah, it's the past. Just...
Don't actually deck him in the dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was fun. Uhura just being, words don't mean anything.
Yeah, Lincoln was portrayed kind of odd throughout this episode because he starts off with this weird memory loss. He comes in and is like, oh,
Almost like he wasn't really Lincoln.
pretty much. Oh, there's gonna be a Vulcan character down there, but I forget who, and I don't remember why I forget that. Weird, but I'm totally Lincoln. And then
Hey, they said honest Abe, not, photographic memory
He did
Abe.
get his brain blown out, so...
two
Yikes.
That's what I said when he went down with the spear in his back. Like, at least it wasn't the head again.
Oh. And then later, when he's devising the attack after Surik has died, Abe's like, well, we gotta go fucking kill him. And they both look at, like, Spock and Kirk both look at him like, Abe? He's like, what? Did you not hear about the Civil War? Lots of people died. Let's go get him.
That was actually something that was interesting. This idea, like, that should have been a much better scene
Yeah.
of him being like,
If it were Mark Leonard, maybe.
I just, the script was so bad. Like, I don't even blame the actor here. This was just a terrible script. Like, again, the script should have spent more time on the planet.
Probably, yeah.
And there should have been a longer thing of, like, Lincoln really sort of debating, well, wait a minute, am I good because of this and that and that and this? And again, it should have come down to Mushroom Rock Monster and she going like, oh, wait a minute, that's... Because I don't think the Rock Monster learns anything by the end.
No.
Because, like, the fact that they didn't want to fight to begin with, that was your lesson, Rock Monster.
In fact, after 3 out of the 4 bad guys run away, and the Rock Monster says, oh, well, the bad guys run away, evil must not be that great. I wanted to be like, running away was an option? I would have run away! Like, immediately.
Also, I mean, not to be too fucking, like, gloomy, but evil doesn't tend to run away in the real world. Like, that is certainly a characteristic of evil that fiction loves to give evil. That at the end of the day, when the chips are really down, evil is actually cowardly.
The villain who fights and runs away lives to see another day!
Exactly. But in reality, while there are always sort of, the world presents us with examples of people who are only awful behind a wall of anonymity. And once presented in real life with their awfulness will crumble like the worthless little feckless scum they are. There will always be those true believers who are proudly out there admitting who and what they are, and don't run away from concerted resistance. And it's a stupid lesson. And again, not just Star Trek is guilty of this, but especially if that was kind of like, when they've had so many other episodes where it's been like, the point has kind of been like, look, I don't want to fight. Fighting and killing are dumb, and it's like, yeah, you're right. Oh, I see. That's what makes you, like, evolved. But for here, the lesson to be like, I guess bad people run and good people are basically the same thing, but don't run, but what? Sorry, you were...
Well, I mean, like, to be fair, though, if they had just done they don't want to fight, so they must be good. If they had done that again, we would have been angry about that. I'm not saying that the other solution that they gave us was good, because it's not. But I do feel like if they had been like, they don't want to fight, therefore they are good, we would have been like, yeah, we've seen this episode 6 times already.
That's true, and I mean, regardless, the whole plot was yet again, so that part was boring and pointless, and you're right, but I'm almost more like, I'd have preferred repetition to this wishy-washy, fucked up bullshittery. Even if Kirk had, like, just stood his ground and made a big Kirk speech to be like, you misunderstood. And he sort of tried to do that, but clearly he hadn't gotten through to the rock monster.
Well, the monster wasn't a computer.
You're
That's the
right.
problem.
They should blow this fucking planet up.
They really have to.
Well,
Because the next people that come down, they're just going to be like, well, next part of the test. Can people swim forever? No, you drown? Good to know.
Do Klingons like tribbles?
So, I also, though, feel like it would have been really silly. This episode had already painted itself into a corner long before it got to the end.
The second they were like, let's have Lincoln in this episode.
Yeah. That was...
Well, because you can't really... So, yes, you could do a repeat of Arena, wherein Kirk throws down his arms and says, no, I won't kill him. And then the rock monster turns into,
a beautiful
cherub and is like, all right, we'll let you go. But that wouldn't work because they already did it in Arena. And also, they're fucking clearly just illusions, projections. Anyway, so from Kirk's perspective, there's really the only stakes are his life and the Enterprise. So why take the chance?
And
why
Spock.
moralize?
Spock's there too.
Yeah, and Spock.
Yeah. Well, I think they weren't illusions so much as the impression by the end that I was under was that they were able to transmute matter.
Sure.
So they made some of their own
people
into humans.
Oh, interesting.
Because they did mention, it was easy to miss, that, like, the thing Scotty locked onto before he beamed up Lincoln, for a split second, he said, looked like it was, like, silicate with claws.
That was some
like
weird
the mushroom
foreshadowing.
monster.
Yeah.
So they had clearly just made one of their own people in... Well, I mean, there's even the question of, like, this planet's made of lava.
How did he appear in the view screen? That's a different thing entirely.
Yeah, they didn't really explain that. But then these people they can do all sorts of weird shit, so...
This episode was bad and it should feel bad.
Yes.
Yep, I'm sure it does.
But yeah, it's interesting too, because, like, presumably the monsters are the lava? And they exist in sort of like
Sentient lava.
Well, it's not too much of a stretch when you think about the Founder homeworld we'll eventually see, which I won't get into details now for those who don't quite know what that means, but keep that in mind for 3 years from now. Or 4.
More.
5? Anyway, it maybe even picked that form for itself right then. Because they had to create the land and then create the people. So how many of them are... Oh, God, it's getting complicated. And this episode isn't worth the amount of thought I'm giving it. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
It was shit.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
Nope.
Next one was pretty good, though.
I liked the next one, All Our Yesterdays. I thought that was a fantastic premise. A couple bits of weirdness, but a great premise. I loved that, we actually had the team split up from each other.
Yeah.
And trying to get back.
I like that there was no stupid B-plot on the ship.
There was no ship at all.
Yeah.
That's true.
This is, I think it's the only episode in all of the original series where you do not see the interior of the Enterprise. We hear some voiceovers from Scotty, and that's it. Because we only ever see, the Happy Three, as we've dubbed them for some stupid reason.
The Happy Three, Atos.
So it makes it uncomplicated that way.
Yeah.
You
It
got
also
one
makes
thing.
it cheap.
Well, I don't know. They had lots of fucking wind burn.
Oh, I just mean
stuff.
they didn't have to, but they didn't have to pay the crew.
They didn't have to give Walter Koenig his salami sandwich.
$20 and his salami sandwich.
Speaking of Walter Koenig, he wasn't in this episode. Let's talk about somebody else.
The one thing that sort of annoyed me, I know it was because they had to save money, but it's like, isn't it convenient that this planet had a 16th century Regency period, so they could just bust out existing props and costumes and...
Why? When were they in the 16th century?
That's where Kirk wound up.
No, before.
I mean,
Oh, no, I just mean, like,
I'm sure there's like something on the studio log.
Yeah, like
sure.
stuff that they already own.
I'm sure there was already like a ye old England town.
Yeah, and then they also saved lots of money on Zarabeth's costume because it was just a little green bikini kind of thing.
Yeah.
Boy,
but she did have a pretty cool, like her robe.
I liked her.
Oh, yeah,
it was pretty nice.
Yeah, the mammoth coat there.
I liked it.
I
like that you couldn't tell who it was when you first met her because she had the hood all the way out.
Yeah.
She was like an albino ghost of Christmas yet to come.
It was a bit.
You realize their skin isn't their coat, right?
I mean, yeah, but...
Fair enough.
Sorry to steer her by. I would like to apologize to any
Well, we
albinos
also
who listen to the
got-
podcast who've been offended by these comments.
We also got the ghost of Jacob Marley in the form of the giant chains. There
Love
were some
those chains.
giant chains in Kirk's history.
I will say, though, the performance from the prosecutor guy was a bit too wacky comedy for this episode. Because I feel like it was trying to otherwise be kind of serious, and here he is being like, "Oh, I'm a comedy fat man!" Oh!
He was like, he had
some good
some
expressions.
fucking veal
Very
mouth.
expressive.
He had like the vealiest lips I've ever seen.
Veal. I don't know what that means.
It's a type of meat.
I know
So-
what veal is. How does that have to do with
It
his
just looks
lips?
slimy and I wasn't into
So
it.
last episode we had Lincoln with no lips. This episode we've got, prosecutor guy with veal lips.
I don't know. I feel like there's going to be this. So let's talk about the plan of this planet, right? So they know that their star is about to blow up.
Yep.
They know it's going to destroy the entire planet. So their solution, instead of evacuate the planet to another planet,
Maybe they don't have the capacity.
okay, maybe they don't. I'm not.
No, they did mention they
criticizing.
don't have space travel.
I'm not criticizing them
Okay,
at
go
all.
on,
What
go
I'm saying
on.
is their plan is to send everybody into the past
Yep.
at any point in time that they want to.
Yep.
But they have to act like they belong, apparently.
I mean, you can't fuck up the past. We've learned this a couple of times.
You think
now.
okay,
That's
so
trusting an
presumably-
awful
yeah,
lot
I
of
was gonna say,
people to
presumably
not
there's
fuck up the
perhaps
past.
millions of people on this planet.
Everyone who's not trustworthy just gets executed.
And-
Sent to the Ice Age.
Nothing to fuck up
like
there.
someone's gonna go back to like. Someone is definitely gonna
The
pretend is gonna
1980s
be
and
Jesus. You
have
know?
a sports almanac and
Yeah. Someone's gonna
I mean,
fucking-
here's
gonna
the
get
thing, though.
biffed.
Here's the thing. This must, just by rights, be a stable time loop.
I mean, it has to be, otherwise it would be all fucked.
Yeah, no, like, they clearly, like, this just keeps happening over and over and over. Those people were supposed to be there. Their society became the society it did.
Oh, I just came up with a perfect alternate ending to this episode. Spock, after, with the girl and everything, Spock and McCoy come back, and
Touch dicks?
Atoz
no.
is there, and he's got pointed ears. and he goes back he runs into the transporter, and like McCoy and Spock look at each other, and Kirk says, "I don't remember him having pointed ears before." And then that's the joke.
Oh
Like it.
no! Cut to credits.
I was reading up on this episode. Apparently, there are two novels, and they're not canonical novels. They're not in the world of canon. But there are two sequels to this episode.
Oh, good.
That feature Zarabeth's son Zar.
Clan of the Cave Bear?
Maybe,
Does he have pointy ears?
of course he does.
Whoa.
Wait, we were so. According to those, then Vulcans and humans can breed without assistance. Interesting.
Maybe there was just something wrong with
Well,
Sarah.
Spock is also half human, so maybe he can more easily.
Oh, so instead of making
But then again, she's not human. She's from that planet.
Yeah, but
Sarpedon
they're clearly
is-
just humans.
Yeah,
there's nothing glued to their face or
No,
forehead.
that's true.
well, and
They're
also
not bronzered up.
good to know that the human Vulcan hybrid is not the mule, but the donkey or whatever. Right? Because the mules are sterile, aren't they? Isn't it like
I know ligers
donkeys
are.
and also zebras and horses like can mate, but then they become sterile, I think, or something similar to that situation.
They become fruit stripe.
Delicious for about 5 seconds.
Yeah, that flavor doesn't last
They
long.
become fruit strips.
So we don't know much about the preparation process that they keep banging on about that Kirk, Spock, and McCoy
Preparation H.
never went through. But the one thing that makes sense is how you preparing their cells. Like, presumably part of that involves making it so their bodies can deal with maybe diseases that existed in the past that no longer
Like
exist.
some kind of inoculation.
Or at the very least-
feel like it's a time traveling one.
It would also
Well, but
have
also
to,
so they can eat the food and not shit themselves to death on the first
well, also
day.
you would want to remove any antibodies that you're carrying so that you don't introduce new diseases into the past that weren't there before.
I feel like it wasn't necessarily a disease thing. I feel like it was a time will actually kill you kind of a thing.
But that's the thing, though. Like, in real life, if you had time travel, you would die you would get really sick almost immediately. Plus, you would
Kill
make
everyone
everybody
else.
there really sick.
Yeah,
because of all
like Back
your
to the
antibodies.
Future 3, just really, like, Marty should have spent the entire movie just on the shitter, because he ate that, rabbit that his ancestor shot and then drank the brown water, and, like, he should have been violently ill the whole time.
I have a question. Do we think by the 23rd century that the human body has lost the appendix or like the gallbladder or any of that shit that's not really necessary? Because if so, then maybe they gotta regrow an appendix to go back in time.
I feel like there was a reference somewhere. Oh no, it was tonsils. Someone had their tonsils removed, and then on I think it was the planet with the jizz flowers that they
Grew back. Yeah. I mean, it's only 300, 400 years, so that's a bit quick for evolution. They could be more vestigial by then, but I'm sure they would still exist.
I'm sure it's possible, considering how it's probably surgery is a lot safer and
They probably
less
just give you a
invasive.
fucking pill.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
You can regrow up kidneys with a pill. There's probably another one that zaps your appendix.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they wait for something to go wrong before they take that shit out, and they're probably just like, you know what, just baby's born, check the pulse, spank it, make sure it cries, zap the appendix, zap the gallbladder. Send them out.
They've got a pill for the first spanking now. They don't have to do that shit anymore.
And also, you could even, you could say, like, oh, well, maybe they just genetic engineered it out at some point, but as will retroactively become the case, they're still very gun-shy about genetic engineering because of the eugenics wars. Like, even well into the 24th century, that shit is super criminal in the Federation.
Do not do that.
You do not. Though, Jake, to your earlier point, I was thinking about the whole, like, stable time loop thing. In theory, one of their citizens would probably eventually work it out at some point. Because they had some amount of advanced warning, so it might have been like, oh, wait a minute, we're all going to go back and... oh, dear. So he made, like, a packet of information to send back sort of to his earlier self, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, I don't know, it's weird. It also doesn't make much sense that the Enterprise was going there, because it was a not even a pre-warp culture, but a pre-spaceflight culture.
Well, they do often go and observe stars exploding and shit.
Yeah, but this time they seem to specifically be going to check on the fact that, like, they knew there was an industrial civilization there that had suddenly vanished, and they were like, what happened there? It's
I have
like,
a thought.
that doesn't matter.
I have a thought. They go down there and they go directly to the library. And everyone else is gone. For some reason, they even say, like, there's no life, even though Mr. Ataz is still fucking right there, and he's not one of his weird clone things.
Yeah.
But I feel like they may have gone down there just to go hit up the library and get
maybe.
some of their info.
Maybe, yeah.
They end up not taking any with them, though, when they do actually.
Well, because they waste all that time.
Yeah, they wasted all that time banging chicks in the past.
So, who wants to bet that Mr. Ataz was not who he claimed to be, but was
Ooh.
actually that horrible dictator who'd been sending people into the past earlier?
I like this theory.
And, like, clearly his government had fallen at some point, and so he'd pulled a Kodos and had become the librarian, which is why he had that stupid, obvious cover name.
I like to imagine that he did that when he saw Kirk and Spock and McCoy show up. He just like looked around the room for the first thing, and all he saw was like a card catalog that said A to Z. He's like, Ataz! That's my name.
Well, I think in my version, he had been posing as a librarian for a while, probably. Because I was under the impression the guy that had sent what's-her-name back in time had been sort of a weird dictatorial person, because I think she was saying, like...
I feel like he was like the leader of a big crime ring or something.
Episode are we talking about right now?
This is still all our yesterday's.
No. But you're saying the dictator who was sending people back?
When we talked to Zarabeth, the chick that Spock put it to, she would talk about, oh yes, I was sent here as punishment.
Because of my crime,
because
right?
Because of the crimes, and my leader, whose name I've forgotten. There was a Z in it somewhere.
Yeah.
Zarnock or something?
Something that sounds like space evil guy.
Yeah.
Was it Zoda? Because that's Ataw's backwards, just saying. I know. Nailed it.
Yes. But yeah, that's just a bit of headcanon.
I also don't know, we don't know necessarily when she was sent back.
Right, that's the other
She might not have been sent back.
She's got a nice cave now, so long enough to make up a nice cave.
And long enough to fucking kill some mammoths. Shit.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's why I imagine, he was probably younger and in his prime when he was doing whatever. Because the impression on that whatever she had done, she'd been sent back sort of as some sort of, persecution thing more than actual thing. But anyway, that's why I imagine he could have been younger, and now, like I said, he's pulling a Kodos. Kodos became an actor. He became a librarian.
In terms of how the Atavachron works, and this for some reason I got hung up on this at the very, very end. So, we can hear through the walls, if you're at the wall where you came through, and you shout through it, people who are on the wall of the other side can hear you, and people who are in the library, if they have it set to your file, can hear you.
Yep.
Does this mean that all the hundreds or thousands of different entry points that there are, that there's just a wall in each of them where they just hear voices from other places every so often?
Probably.
I feel like this can't be the first time that particular wall in the 16th century place, voices have come out of it.
Yeah.
Is this why Joan of Arc thought God was talking to her?
Probably, yeah.
I like to imagine that every so often all the people from the future gather by their point and just hey! Hey, Bill, you there? Yeah, Fred, how are you? Good. How's your time period? It's pretty awesome. It's really it's at that point where our global warming was just starting making everything pleasant before it got awful for 300 years. Oh, yeah. See, I'm in the awful part because I like dry heat. Oh, yeah. How is it? Not bad.
Yeah, I'm a humid kind of guy. I prefer the humid heat.
And they just occasionally have little conferences, catch up with their old friends.
I like that. That's interesting.
Discuss the stable time loop.
I mean, this is such a cool concept for an episode, but I can't help but think that sending everybody back into the past does not really solve any of the problem.
Well, no, because they'll all just be born again and get sent back again.
Yeah.
But then again, what problem is there to solve? You can't keep a sun from going nova.
But you can keep your civilization going in the future. Right now, they've just kind of put the end page of their...
Yeah, and the fact that you have to fit in with whatever time period you're in,
Well, they did say something about
Veal guy
fucking with their brain waves, so maybe that makes it easier.
The brainwaves thing. So Spock reverts to his past Vulcan
because he hadn't been prepared.
Savagery.
Yeah,
that was very strange.
Yeah.
So presumably if he had been prepared, that wouldn't have happened?
But I'd say some pretty good acting on both Leonard and...
DeForest.
Leonard and
That's what gets confusing sometimes, the fact that there was a fake Leonard and a real Leonard.
Yeah. There were some fun Spock
the
McCoy
Leos,
scenes.
they did well.
It is funny that, McCoy, in theory, should also have been sort of regressing, because 5,000 years ago, cavemen or whatever, but he was...
5,000 years ago.
No, that's what they said, it was 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, but human beings weren't cavemen 5,000 years ago.
What the fuck was 5,000 years ago? I'm bad at math.
The Greeks.
Yeah,
really?
the Greeks.
Okay, he's fine, never mind.
Weren't right?
Yeah, because it would be close to
3,000 BC.
Yeah, less or less than 3,000. It would be 30.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, because they're in the 23rd
Rome
century.
was founded
I'm doing that. I'm basing it partly also. Part of me is just basing it from now, not.
Years ago?
So what? 2300s.
Sounds about right. I should probably know, but I don't really. 2700.
What? No, 2700 would be the 26th or 28th century. They're in the 2300s.
We're getting stuck on this.
20.
Yeah.
Regardless, Bones was
there
fine.
There were civilizations 5,000 years ago.
Yes, there were. You're right.
At least Mesopotamia or something.
Yeah, and in Egypt as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't. I fucking studied classics. I should probably remember, but I don't.
But anywho, so they wouldn't have been cavemen.
No, you're right. You're right.
He certainly should have been a little more racist.
Well, everyone in the room was white.
That's true.
And he did call Spock a pointy-eared Vulcan. So.
Yeah, his Vulcans were getting awfully close to fucking this week.
It was, really. That was, one of them was the most, fucking we've ever heard, and I was like, whoa.
But, Spock...
What the Vulc is wrong with you?
Spock's outburst, he did it so well, I don't think I've liked it, and I'm certain, or something like that. That was great.
The way you're needling me or whatever, and I don't think I've liked it, and I don't think I like it now.
Oh,
or now I'm certain
pushes
of
him up
it.
against
Yeah,
the wall.
something like that.
He's gonna
God, that was so hot.
That was a great scene.
Ames and I were like, kiss.
Yeah, they were so waiting for a bit of Doc on Spock action.
Doc on Spock.
Spock on Doc?
Hop on pop.
Maybe they switch.
Spock on top. Wait a minute. This has gone places.
Many places.
In the
Also,
butt.
now,
In the past.
in this season, we now have our 3 leads, each of whom have had a beloved who they've had to leave, had to abandon. You have Kirk and...
McCoy can go back to his.
Well, that's-
He's planning to.
You have Kirk and what's her
Miramani.
face? Miramani. You have McCoy and
Natira.
and now you have Spock and this broad. Zarabeth. And in each case, there's been heartbreak.
Starfleet personnel aren't allowed to settle down and be happy.
Apparently.
But yeah, there were some good moments that, even if it didn't quite make sense, the whole reversion thing, it led to some really good scenes with Spock and McCoy, so I'll take it.
Conflicted
They were
Spock
great
is my
together.
favorite Spock, because then you can actually see like the willpower to keep the emotions down.
Yeah.
And then it fails
He
miserably.
got so upset that he ate some meat and he liked it.
Yeah.
I ate some meat and I liked it.
It was also kind of fun to see the, like, role reversal where Doc's being the logical one. It's like, think about it! That's what
She's probably
He's
lying.
reverted to Greek philosopher. That's what it is. If A plus B equals C, ipso facto, I don't know shit at all about philosophy, but you know.
Hypotenuse,
when in Rome.
Pythagorean theorem.
Yes. A whale's vagina.
What?
Anchorman. It's in that scene where he goes, when in Rome, and he's using it completely wrong.
Right. He's saying it to mean, like, agree to disagree, right?
Yeah. Yeah, overall, a pretty solid episode.
We had good freezing to death makeup too.
Yeah, the frostbite on the hands and the
Spock's
face.
ears.
Spock's ears, yeah, I love that little
they got
detail.
frosty at the
Because
tips
of course
first.
the tips would be
Yeah.
frosty first.
Well, they even, like, say at one point, if you looked at him, they must have thrown some water on his face to make it look like
It was melting.
the snow was starting to melt out of his hair, which was a nice touch.
Yeah, it looked good.
I was like, wow, that was... Because obviously it wasn't real snow in his hair, so they had to purposely go like, all right, now water.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Good episode.
Yeah, like, and, you know, not one of the great ones overall, but not bad.
Yeah, this isn't going to be in the top 5, but it's not...
It's one, like, I've been using this as a scale recently, but, like, it's one I would probably watch again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Savage Curtain,
I was gonna
never
say.
again.
Oh my god, Savage Curtain was fucking garbage of the highest order.
What is
I was-
the name in reference to?
The Savage Curtain?
Yeah.
That's actually a good question.
Pay no
I don't
attention to that
know.
rock monster behind the
Savage Curtain?
Savage Garden.
I don't know. I do
Sound
know
garden.
that the original title for All Our Yesterdays was supposed to be A Handful of Dust. That Spock and McCoy were originally supposed to be sent into a desert instead of a tundra, saved by weird mutant-looking creatures,
They might
and that
have wound
Zarabeth wouldn't have been in the episode at all.
They might have wound up topless in the desert, so I'm a little sad that we didn't get that.
Well, if it's any consolation,
Nope.
we eventually get Scott Bakula and the guy that plays the chief engineer of the NX-1 in a desert, and I think we get to see them shirtless.
I don't know who any of those people are.
Scott Bakula's Quantum Leap.
I've never seen Quantum Leap.
But you don't, you never even seen like pictures, know kind of what he looks like? Or?
No, I literally don't have any.
Oh.
The entry on Scott Bakula in my
It's just
brain
completely-
is
Well,
empty.
that's
Well,
fair.
picture Dracula,
That's what I was picturing.
and then
Not.
not. But
then
at least you have
remove
a
that
picture of
image.
Dracula in
Got
your
it.
brain.
Got it. I have it.
Any final thoughts on All Our Yesterdays?
I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. And it made me actually, speaking of Doctor Who, it made me think sort of Silence in the Library a little bit with the using the library being the point from which people are sent away to be saved from impending doom, sort
Yeah.
of.
Sort of, yeah.
Again,
And certainly the
it's
whole
not
stable
a-
time loop thing is very Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean it's not a perfect comparison.
Sent
but
away where you'll probably meet another different kind of untimely death.
or the
Spock should have just, like, forced Kirk to slingshot around the sun so they could pick up his girlfriend from the past.
Well, and actually, you know, in that lost love sense, it does fit also because Donna has her like man friend, and then it turns out to all be matrixy, and it sucks.
Also, they like how I don't know if because we watched the remaster, but how literally as they're flying away from the planet, it gets destroyed.
Of course it does.
I wonder what that looked like in the original. I will try to remember to watch it and report back. Man, I'm gonna... The nice thing in the future is we don't have to, like, oh, how was your version? How was yours? Because next week, folks, it's the end of TOS, not the experiment.
The end
It's the end of
of the world as we know it.
So yes, Our last live-action appearance of the 1960s 1701 and uniforms and crew and all that in Turnabout Intruder, the final episode of Star Trek, the original series.
Turnabout, intruder!
Okay.
Sounds like a command.
So please join us for that. We're going to discuss that episode and sort of then wrap up TOS as a whole, give some thoughts, some opinions, some feedback. Should be an interesting sort of time. Do please find and like our Facebook page, Star to Steer Hereby. We are on Twitter and Tumblr as SSHB Podcast. Do please subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting application, and if you use iTunes, think about giving us a rating and review. For A Star to Steer Hereby, this has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Caitlin.
And this is always Jake.
Thank you for listening.
Be sure to tip your yeoman.
Yeah.
You
It
got
also
one
makes
thing.
it cheap.
Well, I don't know. They had lots of fucking like wind burn.
Oh, I just mean like
stuff.
And
they didn't have
extras.
to, but they didn't have to pay the crew.
They didn't have to
which
give
is
Walter
probably
Koenig his salami
$20
sandwich.
and his salami sandwich.
$20 and the sandwich. He's really moving up in the
Well,
world.
it was a mini sandwich this week. It was just a
Oh.
cold cut.
He has like a finger sandwich.
One of those ones you get from like 7-Eleven in the wrapper, and you're
Oh.
like, I shouldn't be eating this, but I'm in
They're just-
college.
Yeah, they just buy a party sub and give everyone a couple inches of it.
But Walter gets the smallest piece.
Yeah.
He gets
well,
the
yeah.
end piece.
Oh yeah, the shitty end piece where there's like barely any meat.
He gets whatever's left over, and he just hopes every week that Bill doesn't want seconds.
And Bill always
Just
wants
wants
seconds.
Oh, poor Walter Koenig.
I hope he never finds this.
I hope he does, but I hope when he does that he knows that
He
we're
takes
coming
it.
from
He
a
takes
place
it.
of love.
Yeah, he
because
takes it in the spirit in which it's intended.
complete and utter disrespect.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding. I love Walter Koenig
I know.
so much. Like I love to make fun of him, but like I actually feel a deep kinship to Walter Koenig. So